Hello, hello, and welcome to Kim Talks Resilience. I'm Kim Hayden, your host, and I am super grateful that you are taking time, your valuable time, and sharing it with us today, exploring these amazing insights and stories from resilient women from around the world for resilient women around the world. So first, I want to give a quick shout to our store online, and that is queensofresilience.shop. This has got a lot of fun and some kind of sassy stuff in it. So if you're looking for something a little bit unique and that gives you a little bit of that sass that you can share, go to queensofresilience.shop. So that's queenofresilience.shop and check it out. So today's gift, we're going to shift our mode a little bit. Typically, we're really in depth with that entrepreneur, right? What we consider is a business entrepreneur. But I don't know if you've noticed, but as of late, I've been talking to a lot of authors because this is a different form of entrepreneurship. This is the entrepreneurship of storytelling. And this is, we go back to the bards from 1500 and we go all the way back. And stories are really how we as a society continue to develop forward. So today I have an amazing gal that, once I started reading her bio and a little bit about her, going, wow, I know this gal. I know this gal because I'm related to women like this. I have faced these journeys myself, and I really want to learn from her today. So, Sonia Wasden is a suicide survivor. She's an award-winning book called An Impossible Life, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Is a lighthouse of hope. Sonya has managed bipolar, OCD, and anxiety disorder for over 30 years. She has been interviewed on CBS, The Morning Show, and Tamron Hall Show. Her mental health advocacy works include doing mental health books, clubs, and women prisons across the country. Even Oprah Winfrey, gotta love Oprah, has participated in one of her programs. Sonia is passionate about having conversations around mental health. She has shared her inspiring stories with millions of people, and now you get to be part of her circle. So let's welcome her to the studio. Good morning, Sonia. How you doing?
Doing great. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
I have to say, I love the necktie and the side pony because I just feel like you've got it like all together there. It must not be boiling where you're at because it's been pretty warm here lately.
Actually, it's hot, but I'm always cold. But I always wear my signature scarves. I love scarves.
Oh, awesome. You
Yeah.
know what? I'm gonna have to figure out where you get all your scarves because I love the what they call pussy bow shirts. I love all
Yeah.
the shirts
Yeah.
with little bows on them, but
Yeah.
I'd love to get some great scarves.
Oh, yeah.
So
They're fun.
So, Sonia, give us a little bit of backstory. We've done kind of a high view as to who you are, what you do. But if you could give us a little bit of backstory of who you are.
Okay. Well, I am a dedicated mental health advocate. It's very personal to me. As you said, I'm a suicide survivor. I lost my father to suicide. I manage mental health disorders and it runs through my family. And there's many family members who have it. So it's very near and dear to my heart. I hid my mental illness for over 20 years. I was silent because of the stigma. It's talked about a lot more today, but I'm so grateful and I'm joining the growing choir of mental health advocacy. But still, we have a long ways to go. It's very difficult to be vulnerable and to share when you're not okay. So I am also a keynote speaker to Fortune 500 companies, not-for-profit organizations, and mental health advocacy groups. I speak about mental health in the workplace, and I'm an op-ed contributor in top magazines and news outlets. I'm a member of Newsweek Expert Forum. So yes, I am living a thriving not life now. But just 6 years ago is when my suicide attempt was. And obviously at that time, I thought my life was worthless. I thought I was worthless, and I thought I would have been better off not here.
When we talk about this, there's a lot of people right now, there's thousands of people sitting here, sitting somewhere, and all they're hearing is the negativity around politics, the negativity around the pandemic, the negativity around the economy, and all it does is compound and fuel that I'm never going to get out of this. It's never going to get better. Instead of, because we as human beings, and we're wired this way, we're supposed to be wired this way. This is why we survived as cavemen, right? The person that was the most afraid reacted the fastest, and their gene pool moved forward, right? The guy that didn't move fast, he's the one that got eaten, and his gene pool did not go forward. So the reality is we as human beings are wired to respond to fear and negativity, because this is how our ancestors were able to survive very dire circumstances of living out in the open and having large animals that would eat them. So, how do we take a very serious conversation and release it into the general populace who then is wired with those negative tendencies with confidence enough that it's not going to affect our next opportunity or our next business or our authority on anything? That's the big one. I think a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people don't talk about it. And it's not that they don't talk about it or want to talk about it. It's that they're afraid of how it will impact other people's opinions and their opportunities in the future.
Yeah. I loved a lot of things that you were saying. And I think, with our mental health and all the things that are going on in our world can be very frightening. But I think us as individuals, anyone listening out there, you as an individual have to radically accept this is the environment we're in. And what you can do is within your family, within your friends circle, is to speak up there, right? Because us as a society, we're made up of individuals, families, friends. And so we need to go within our circles of influence and have our voice be heard, but radically accept what it is and don't panic and wish it was something else. That's one thing that I learned through therapy about my mental health. I have a mental illness for the rest of my life. My mental illness hasn't changed from 30 years ago to today. All that's changed is my ability and capacity to handle it. So I would encourage people to say, you got this. You can handle what life throws us. Us as a society, we can handle it. We can do it together. But I think it's important that we take our individual responsibility and use our voice within our families, within our communities, where we have influence. And as everyone does that, that's where the big impact comes. A lot of people say to me, oh, how can I be a mental health advocate? I said, the biggest thing you can do is use your own voice with your friends, your families, your coworkers. Start right where you are, and it will just spread like wildfire. And I think also what you brought up was really important, is that a lot of people think, oh, I don't want to have this conversation about mental health. It's so dark. It's so, ugh. But I think we need to acknowledge it's part of life's journey. Most people have mental health challenges, if it's situational, environmental, or biological, like I do. It's just part of life's journey, but they can be a positive thing. They can be little alarm bells that let you know you need to make changes, like maybe get more sleep, maybe make a job change, maybe work less and practice more self-care, maybe get out of a toxic relationship. There's so many things about when you start having mental health challenges, they can be little clues to you that, hey, pay attention. I need to make some life changes. That's what it was for me. It's a mental illness that I have to manage for my life, but they still kind of let our little alarm bells in my life saying, Sonia, try to stay more in the middle, try to have some more balance of physical and your mental health. So I think mental health challenges actually can be kind of a growth opportunity and a wake up call.
As a mother of three children, I've seen how different things. My middle child was diagnosed with a lot of the D's, OCD and ADD and ODD, which was the one that I drew the line at. Um, and you just tapped on something about, taking care of yourself. So physical health, so exercise and such. How does that play into your world?
I think a lot of people, and I don't even know I should say this, but a lot of people who are really rigid and are like, I've got these goals. I never set goals. But go to my website. You can see I still accomplish things. I have intentions. But I think what happens is a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to take care of my physical health. I'm going to go run a marathon. I'm going to go become super buff. And it's like, just go on a walk. So for me, I just take it down and say, you know what? My body needs to move. So when you say I'm going to exercise more, instead of setting these huge goals, just go outside in nature and take a walk. Or go to the mall and walk with a friend and have a great conversation if it's cold outside. I think just walk, I always say. When we say we need to take care of our physical or even our mental, we sometimes go to these extremes when really just doing simple things can make big differences.
Simple things make big differences because they compound. It's like Lego. When you start with one Lego on the ground, you've got one Lego on the ground. Then you
Mm.
have two Lego, and then you have three, and then now you have a tower, and then you have a fort. And yeah, so I absolutely agree with that. So let's get into a bit of the what. So you mentioned speaking of women's prisons, the in the states. Are you in the states? Where are you at, Sonia?
I'm in
I didn't.
Iowa.
You
Yeah.
live in Iowa, so you're like middle. You're like I'm from
Mhm.
Kansas. You're like farm girl here. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. I get it, Sonia.
Yeah.
So, um, the United States, the prison system is. I mean, there's not a lot of forgiveness within the American society. There's it's and I don't think I'm here in Canada, and I don't know if you guys saw. It's probably not being shared down in the states, but there was this national or international global study of livability based on health and shelter and food. And the top 100 cities, there was not even a single U.S. city in it. So the United States has a lot of challenges going on right now and has had them actually for quite some time around, medical available to all, education available to all. And now shelter is being attacked because we're even seeing, I know that in Wichita, where I'm from, housing has gone up 30% just this
Oh,
year alone.
everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we're talking food, so my big mantra, if you watch the show, anybody out there, go back, watch the shows. My big mantra is food, shelter, education, medication are the four things that help us be the best humans we can be. It separates us from animalistic tendencies of survival. So and it's interesting that you kind of touched on the prison system with an education insight that is informative and compassionate. So let's go into a little bit about what you do and how you are of service based on your experiences and what you've accomplished.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel like when you have felt or felt broken to a point, oh, I don't want to get emotional, but to a point where you want to take your life, that you just feel completely broken as a person. There's a connection I have with these broken women. I go to women prisons, drug rehabilitations, homeless shelters. I even speak with brave firefighters and police officers and veterans who do so much service themselves. But these women that I go see in prisons and homeless shelters and drug rehabilitations, they're trying to overcome. These are resilient women, right? This is the
Oh,
resilience program. These women are courageous and brave, and no, there's no excusing their crimes or some of their choices. But, they had a lot of trauma. There's a
mhm.
backstory there that got them to where they're at, and they're trying to rehabilitate and overcome. And they are some of the most resilient women I have ever met. It's just incredible. But the thing that I also think that us as humans, humanity, we are all tied together. And it's interesting. I recently went to a drug rehabilitation center, and I sometimes do this thing, after I hear their stories, I go up to each woman and I take their hands in my, their face in my hands, and I look them in the eyes and I say, I see you. I hear you. You matter. And they just cry. And they each wait for me to go around the room and do that to them. And I think us as a society, we are so caught up in what you said, the stress, the fear, that we sometimes forget to see each other. And
Yeah.
all of us as humans, not just these women's, I need it. You need it. All of us need it. We need to be seen and heard and a part of a purpose, a community, families, and friends, that we feel valued and that we matter. And so I think it's so important in this crisis that we're having and so many people's mental health going down, is that we take the time to look each other in the eyes and say, I see you, I care about you. Because society is made up of individuals, it's made up of you, of me.
Yeah.
That's what makes up society.
That is such an incredible a point of taking. Everybody says, "Good morning, how are you?"
Yeah.
And it's literally just part of like that good morning. It's literally
Yeah.
has no meaning
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
And a few years back, I was having coffee at a Starbucks with a girlfriend of mine, and this gal who was probably about 10, 15 years older than myself comes through the door. But I remember she had whiskey colored eyes. And when you see somebody that has a truly unique, almost an anomaly, something
Mhm.
that you don't see in regular, um, most of us will register it, but we never speak of it. So this gal comes in, and I'm looking at her, going, "Holy crap! Those are the coolest set of eyes I think I've seen in a very long time." And I'm talking to my girlfriend, and the gal's getting ready to leave. She's got her venti. Just so you know, Starbucks.
Yeah.
Seriously, can we just go small, medium, large? Because I never know what to order there. But
Yeah.
so she's getting ready to leave, and I jump up and I look at her and I said, "I just want to say, you have the coolest eyes, like I think I've seen ever, or at least in a very long time that I can remember."
Yeah.
And you know what she did? She looked at me and she started crying. She said, my husband just passed away 6 months ago. And when we got married, when he asked me to marry him, he said, every single day of my life for almost 50 years, you have the most beautiful eyes." And she goes, "Thank you." So literally in that one moment, folks,
Yeah.
because I stopped and
Yeah.
I recognized something that stood out to me, like your scarf, Sonia. I love your scarf.
Thank
There's
you.
always something. Like, seriously, folks, don't walk past me. How many people you know with pink hair?
I love your pink
Seriously.
hair. I love your pink
So when you look at this, take a moment. Take a moment. The pandemic has given us a gift, folks. It has
Mhm.
given us the ability to work anywhere at any time. They are proving now that we're getting 8 hours of work done in 5 hours because we're actually more mobile. So that means you've just been given 3 hours to say nice things to people, to let them know they're being seen. I actually, just so you know, you can't see my desk, but my desk is a glass top. When you were talking, before you start talking about that, I said, "Stop and ask, how are you?" I was going to close the show on that because you were bringing up so many valid points. So, and going into women's prisons, just so everybody knows, I still, Charlize Theron's show, movie Monster, is still one of the most impactful ones of my life because I myself am just like, I'm no different from my childhood of many of these women in the prison system. And so you don't choose to have the loop in your head that's been gifted to you through childhood, right? And many of us have generational trauma and then have the predisposition through our biological gifts that we've been received. So, look at the little things. My poor husband. For anybody listening out there who's sitting there going, "I missed every opportunity out there," and they've got that loop going on in their head. There's a lot of people right now that the loops are going on in their head around money, and I know that my husband does it too. Because my poor husband, literally three times he has sat across the desk from and been one of two people So he was up against Travelocity, which changed our travel back in the early 90s. He pitched on the big solar farm that's down in down in Las Vegas, and he did a whole job with Mac on these Macintosh within these casing frames. So he's been very close several times in his journey, and so I know as a man he gets that loop. What are some of the things you do with the loop? The loop that goes woulda, coulda, shoulda, never gonna happen again.
Okay, but real quick before I answer that, I just wanted to point in because I loved what you said. When people do the greeting, when you say, "How are you?" and they go, "Great," stop them and say, "Why? Why are you so great?" Or "What's happened that's so great?" Right there, take that opportunity to engage with them. Say, "What's so great? Let me know." So I've been doing that lately because what you said about, connecting people use it just like whatever, like I'm great. I'm always like, "Well, how? Like what's going on that's great?" So I suggest anyone out there do it. It's super fun. But anyway, the thing that I do when I get stuck, I call them sticky thoughts. Okay.
Yeah.
They're sticky thoughts. And so because I'm obsessive compulsive disorder, I have lots of sticky thoughts. They're like little sticky notes that stick to me. And we all have them, but some of us think they're super glue. They're not super glue. They're sticky notes. You can take them off. And so you can deal with them effectively. And one thing my therapist has taught me to do when you have these sticky thoughts, you don't want to engage in a conversation with them because they love it and they will talk with you forever till the cows come home. They will talk and talk and talk. So the steps that we do to deal with sticky thoughts is when you're having a sticky thought, whatever it is, it could be your husband about the close calls with these companies, or, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or, oh, I don't feel like I'm enough, or, oh, I made this mistake. So when you have a sticky thought, you call it out because it's got to be recognized. If you push it away or shove it away, it's going to compound more. So it has to be acknowledged. So when I have a sticky thought, I say, oh, I'm having a sticky thought. And whatever it is, I say it. And then I say, you're welcome to be here. You have willing hands and you invite it in. You don't close the door. You don't shove it down because it will just bubble up. You invite it. So then you say, you're welcome to be here. And then you take your focus immediately back to what you were doing. Your brain can't think of two things at the same time. So if
Mhm.
you're eating, go right back to eating and say, oh, what am I eating? Like, talk to your food. If you're working, go right back into that email. If you're having a conversation and that sticky thought pulls you out of the conversation, out of the moment with that person, look right back at them and ask them a question. Engage right back into that conversation. And then if the sticky thought comes again, you repeat the process, my therapist said. You say, oh, hello, sticky thought. You're welcome to be here. And then you go right back to, you refocus into the moment, into the now of what you're doing. And what happens is those sticky thoughts get less and less and less, and they kind of dissipate. And so I've experienced this with many of my obsessive thoughts. I had certain things that I would obsess about and think about like hundreds of times a day. But now that I deal with those sticky thoughts, I might think of some of those thoughts that come to me a lot, maybe once every 3 days. So I know it sounds kind of strange because when my therapist told me, I'm like, what? But it really works. So you lean into it instead of pushing it away. You invite it until shoving it down. You acknowledge it, but you don't engage in a conversation with it. And you get right back to your now, your purpose, and what you're doing at that moment.
Makes me think about I'm in the midst of a book called Positive Intelligence by
Okay.
Shriz. Yes. Are you familiar with that one?
Mhm.
So he is a psychologist, I believe, out of San Francisco. And he talks about how the sticky notes are actually a derivative of our our children as infants, like, don't touch the fire, it's going to be hot, right?
Right.
And now those become all the saboteurs, right? and
Mhm.
and and those, so, and he said the problem is if we don't learn in our very early 20s to identify them, they get actually more and more and more aggressive. They get they get more prominent, right? And I
Yeah.
think that, you know, so many of us run around and we're so busy that we are not taking the time to address all the things that got us through childhood and the things that we're okay to let go of. It's kind of like, you're not going to bring all those crappy teddy bears you got at the carnival with you to your apartment when you're 30. Those don't look good with your IKEA kitchen. So
Yeah.
let's get rid of the teddy bears, right? So all of those things, it's understanding what was good behaviors and good thoughts moving forward from childhood and what needs to be packed, wrapped, and put away. Like they're done. We're good with that. We identify it. Thank you. You've served your purpose. I'm not going to put my hands on a hot stove. However, I don't need that hot stove theory moving forward because I lost a job and I'm not going to go get a new job because I could get burned again. Right?
Right.
And I thought this book was really fast and it actually correlates. You just got me thinking like, oh, that's what those little gremlins are doing. That's what everything for all those fears from the childhood now learned how to write and are leaving even harder, more aggressive, like, and then learning how to deal with that. That's brilliant. I love the sticky note theory because it just feels less permanent than, when you think of
You're not
permanent mark.
super glue. You can, if I, an extremely obsessive compulsive person can deal with these sticky thoughts, I have confidence that anyone out there can learn how to deal with their sticky thoughts. They're uncomfortable. Nobody likes them. They're
Yeah.
intrusive. That's a given. But nevertheless, there's ours to manage.
Well, Sonia, with OCD, because I know that my middle one is lightly. I am like the furthest thing from OCD, but I
Hey,
love I love OCD people coming to visit because they clean up behind themselves and then sometimes clean up after me. It's like, come anytime. I take no offense. I want
yeah.
everybody to know out there I am not the best housekeeper and I only do laundry. I ran out of clothes. I'm just horrible. I'm running full tilt. So, there's a yin and a yang in every group, and
Yes,
it's okay to be one or the other.
it is.
Just give grace. Okay, so let's dive into your why. So I think we can identify that part of this is maybe your journey also, and you're sharing the journey. But give us a little bit more about the why, and you've got to include in this how you got Oprah. How you did Oprah. I mean, God, she's like,
Oh,
we love Oprah. I love Oprah.
oh, man. It's funny. I actually talk it's a lot harder than you think. I talked to her team for over a year and she says no to like 99% of what she's
Yeah.
asked. I mean, she just doesn't have the time. So I felt so blessed and so grateful that she graciously came to my mental health book club and participated. I mean, it was an magical, impactful event, an experience of a lifetime for those women in prison. And it made them feel that they were important and that society hadn't forgotten them. So it was really touching. But yeah, I reached out to her people and we had a conversation for a year. So there you go. Took a year.
Well, what do they say? Easy things. What is it? Things that are good for you never come easy, but the easy things are never good for you. So,
Oh, I like
so
that.
it's that whole, uh, you know, if it just happens immediately, really does it have great impact? Is it really that beneficial? It's kind of like eating a donut. Donuts are fun. I want a donut.
Yeah.
Having that extra glass of wine, in the moment, it's awesome. But then we pay for it. We all like it has calories. It has negative effects. Um,
But I
but
also think,
a year long conversation though
yeah,
leads to something that is puts you in a top 1 percentile.
yeah. I think the other thing that people need to realize, I think especially with Instagram, and I've been posting a lot more because my marketing team's like, Sonia, you need to post. That's, I'm not very good at social media, but
I'm with you.
they're like, you've got to post, you've got to let people know what you're doing. If you're really a mental health advocate, get the message out there, show what you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay. So I've been really working on it lately. But the thing also with social media, one aspect that I don't like about it is that, we put all these great things that we're doing. And so then people think, oh, it's so easy. It's so great. Look what they're doing, where they don't see behind the scenes. So, like, for example, on my resume, it says I've been interviewed in all 50 states on local and national TV. And people are like, oh, wow, amazing. But nobody realizes there's like, I'm going to get the number wrong, but I think there's like 200 news stations in 50 states. So that means I got told no 150. I called them all. I called them all.
Yep.
So to get 50 interviews, I got told no 150 times. So I think what I would say to people is on your road, if we're talking to business people out there or in relationships, or if you have personal goals, but we've just got to also be honest and acknowledge in life, things are hard. We get told no, we have failures, the doors close on us, and we have to search for those doors to open. And sometimes we've got to knock pretty hard or be patient, like me for a year, with Miss Winfrey, or, just continue knocking. And so I think, when I post these things on my social media, and I've been doing that, and I get so many wonderful responses, and I'm so appreciative of it. But I also want to write a little message, and I'll have to, of just, you know what? I got told no 150 times for 50 of those interviews. I reached out to a lot of people that tell me no. And so I think we just got to realize, don't take rejection personally. And whoever's doing, entrepreneurs out there or trying a new career or trying to get a relationship, maybe you haven't found your person, the life's a journey. It's just a
Yeah.
journey. We're just on this journey. And, we just got to embrace the journey. We got to embrace the failures, the no's, but also the joyful moments and the wins, like Miss Winfrey, or when I got published in the Washington Post, it was like, wow. But then I get rejected from a lot of other news media, So I think it's just life is all of it, right? Joy, sad, hard, good. It's just a mixed pot. So I wish more on social media, we'd all post a little bit
Yeah.
more of the mixture, but then sometimes I don't want to post the negative because my life has been so hard. My message is like, oh, I'm a suicide survivor. It's such a downer, so I
Yeah.
don't always want to focus on, you know, two of the depressed.
And I just want to say to anybody who is listening to this, if you know somebody that you are concerned about, there are hotlines. Please, please, please reach
Yes.
out. We are reaching kind of we're reaching critical mass with a lot of our young men and older men. So that under 21 and that over 55, both those sectors are really getting saturated. So, and as a mother of 24 and 33-year-old young men and a wife of a 61-year-old man, there are groups and committees out there, and for women, we have. I think we're starting to get so much more open in our conversation with women like Sonya, and every and we're available, whereas men are hiding it, and they're not dealing with it because of fear of what will my boss say, what will my family say, they'll see me as weak. You're not weak. You're not weak. We have so much information bombarding us every day. This is not like 60 years ago or even 30 years ago when nobody had a cell phone and nobody had, we didn't have everything in an immediate. The amount of information coming at us daily. And you have to remember, new, the news is the reason why so much that comes at us can trigger is because that's how they get you to buy,
Right.
right? It's pose a question, right? Uh, uh, what is it? Pose a question, give a story, offer a solution. And a lot of times those questions like, are you unhappy? Are you fat? Are you this or that? And this stuff is constantly bombarding us whether or not we're paying attention. So I just want everybody to know that if you need to reach out, there are organizations everywhere, and people are getting pretty loud, banging their drum, just like Sonia. We're out here. There's nothing more finite than suicide, and life has opportunities and options, and there are people
Yes.
who will help.
And if there's somebody who's experiencing out there, I want you to know that there is hope. You won't always feel this way.
Mhm.
That yes, in the moment it feels all consuming, but you won't always feel this way and that you'll get through it. And there is hope to reach out to your families, your friends, the hotlines. Let one of your families help you get hope. That there is hope.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I know that with the, transition we're seeing with the resignation generation going
Yeah.
on, all these 40-year-old women who have been in corporate their entire life, and they've been sold, that it's easy to start an online business. The reality is it's not easy, but
Mhm.
if you want to do it, there are resources out there. There are amazing groups everywhere. Find the people who will support you in building, and
Yeah.
just remember, slow and steady. The turtle always wins, slow and steady,
I
and
love
just
it.
build it,
I love it.
So, am I speaking your language,
Yes,
Sonia?
you
So
are. You're
this
saying
is
words
why
of, you're saying words of wisdom, gold, gold.
this is why when I read your resume, it's like, you know what? Because typically I've got gals who are coaches, or and they're like out there just pitching to, and which is awesome, because I'm very much put more money in the hands that rock the
Yeah.
cradle, the world will be better, right? It's just like I'm very much around entrepreneurship because it's been my space of coping with my childhood trauma. Entrepreneurship, selling all the cookies at Girl Scouts, pitching, selling cars, selling houses. Everything I've done has been around being of service and providing a solution or a product to what that person needs. So it's a safe space for me to be in. This, Sonia, just so you know, was a very it was a slightly uncomfortable decision for me.
Oh, okay, Kim,
It
tell me
was.
why. All right, Kim,
Well,
why?
because you're not here pitching a product. You're not here giving a simple solution or buy this and you'll get that. You're here saying, you know what? It's okay to have the hard days. And when you do, you got to do the hard work. You got to get in there and tell those sticky notes that they don't count. That it's
Mm,
just scrap paper at this point in time. Let's keep moving forward. So this is a very different conversation than I normally have. So inviting you on the show was actually very intentional for me.
thank you for
Um,
me.
and I think it's very important that this message gets out, because I know there's a lot of women running around starting businesses, and they're afraid. They're not making the money they were, but they know that they have this vision. And then and then we compound it with all the other things we're already dealing with. We may have a biological disposition to something. We may have surrounding experiences. We may be married to somebody with a biological disposition. Things. So there's all these things going on. Okay, so I want to dive into a story of resilience. And when you talk about your story of resilience, give us one or two tangible actions that you applied to move you through that moment, that without resilience, you would not be having this conversation today.
Mhm. Okay. Well, what I can tell you is, after my suicide attempt and I woke up in the ICU several days later, at that point, my husband was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. We're separating. The doctors let me know I was in no shape to be a mother. My 16-year-old son moved to Utah to live with my husband's brother to finish high school. I wasn't working at that time. I wasn't really doing anything with my time. So my big purpose was being a mother. And that was being taken away. Being a wife, that was being taken away. I hit rock bottom. I had almost just died. My husband was separating from me. My child was leaving home at 16. I wasn't going to finish being able to raise him. And I had a big decision to make at that time. As my doctor looked at me, my psychiatrist, she said, "Okay, Sonia, so now what?" Right? And that's what I would offer anyone out there struggling. Now what? What are you going to do? Because really, the only two choices I had was to succumb or to rise, right? And that's where resilience comes, is to rise above. And so I fought for my marriage. I fought for my relationship with my son. I fought for my recovery with my mental health challenges. I entered a dialectical behavior therapy, a year-long program. I fought for my marriage. I got in therapy with my son. And what I'm telling you is that that is when I saw in myself that I had greater strength than I realized. And I think anyone out there, have a little more courage, have a little more belief in yourself. You're stronger than you think you are. And it takes faith to go forward. And I just gave it everything I had. And now I've been married 30 years. I have a happy, happy marriage. And my son and I, our relationship's doing well. He's happily married and doing well. And I have great relationships with my other children. So it's worth it. And resilience, I love it, is overcoming really hard things. But as you overcome those hard things, you learn and grow. And not just you, but the people that you're in a relationship with, you all can bond and grow through these difficult things. My daughter always says we're the Wasden tribe because we've been in the foxhole together. So we're very, very close as a family. So there are positive things that come out of really hard things. And so I'm not the only resilient one. My husband is, my daughter is, my son is, my son is. So I think that as a group, when we go through hard things, we can all be resilient together.
One of the things I'm seeing here, though, is you also let go of the shame. Mother's guilt, all the shame around it.
Exactly.
You
You
have to, folks, you have to scrape that
have
shame off.
to.
Shame and blame has no space in growth, has no place within a life well lived. And remember, folks, good is the enemy of great. If it's just good enough, you're never going to get to what you deserve, which is greatness. And greatness, just so you know, is not the same for everyone. Grant
No.
Cardone, it's an airplane. Good on him. But if it's for you, greatness is ensuring that every day you get your kid to swim classes, and you get your kid to swim classes because you haven't drank all night to numb yourself, or you can afford the classes because you've pushed yourself a little bit harder. That's freaking great. That's amazing. Every little step, if you can make the next generation a little bit better, if you can make yourself finish to the end line feeling like, wow, I did it. Remember, good is the enemy of great. Okay, we're going
Love
to move into
love
books. We're going to move into books. Okay, first, we are going to share your book. Tell us all about your book and the journey of writing your book.
Well, my daughter wrote my book with me. It was a very healing process. And we are so like shocked and thrilled that it's the Eric Hoffer 2022 Grand Prize winner. It's my memoir. My daughter did a beautiful job writing it. It's a quick read. You get to enter my life, see what it's like to have a mental health disorders, what it's like to be suicidal, what it's like to see what a suicide attempt looks like, losing my father to suicide, manic episodes. I was tipping the scales at 250 pounds through emotional eating. You go through that journey with me. So it's a journey that you go with me on my mental health journey and how I came out the other end. But what I really want to say that's so most important about the book is that if you go out and get a copy of it, that it's not just, I'm not selling it just to make money, but to take that copy and after you read it, write a little note in it of something you're not alone and pass it off to someone else and tell them, write a little note in it and pass it on. I always love to see how many people can read one copy of my book. So if you get it or have a copy of my book, please write a message of hope inside of it and pass it on to someone that you know that could use it. And so, yeah.
That, and that's a real process of letting go of the shame. I myself am in the process of writing my first book,
Hey,
and
good for you.
It's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard. So
no,
we're doing the 3,000 square foot. We're doing the
yeah,
3,000 high kind of view
oh, I
overview.
love it. You
The
go, girl.
it's yeah, doing yeah, it's a interesting journey and it's somewhat cathartic, that's for sure. Um where can everybody find you?
They can find me at sonyawasden.com is my website, or Sonia Wasden Instagram, or you can find our book on Amazon, An Impossible Life. Or you can go to An Impossible Life and look at our book website, or I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all over on the internet. Ugh, sometimes I cringe at that. Ugh, it's permanently there forever. Sometimes I panic. That fear sets in, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm all over. I want to delete everything. You want to take it all back. But it's all out there. You can Google my name and tons of things pull up. Yeah.
And just so you know, I know I've been saying Sonya, it's Sonia, folks. I'm horrible with names.
Oh,
It
it's
only takes
fine.
it
It's
only
fine.
takes me a half hour. And
You're
I did
fine, Kim.
I was a guest recently on this gentleman's podcast, Raw Rants.
Yeah.
And Stefan is lovely. But Stefan forewarned me that he's like, do not call him Steven. It is Stefan.
Oh,
And and so I listened to a bunch of his podcasts.
yeah.
This one guy from BC did not get the memo. So I'm like literally going, Stefan, Stefan, Stefan,
Oh
Stefan,
no.
Stefan. I'm good. I will not mess this up.
Yeah.
But I apologize, Sonia. I put the "ah" in there. That I think that's a Kansas thing. It's like no Naoma. My grandmother's name is got an I on the end, but it's pronounced with an A. So, um, I always like to close out the show with a quote, right?
Yes.
And
Love it.
this could be a quote, folks, that is something somebody else has said. This could be a quote that your mother said. This is maybe something that you came up with. But the reason why I collect these is I want the audience to know that in times that you're unable to come up with something, just grab one of ours. These are
Oh,
great. Just
yeah.
just reach into the resilient community and grab a quote. Maybe this is the quote that gets you through the day. And you know what, folks? I know it's not hard out. I know it's not easy out there. I know there's hard days, but the good moments make the hard days easier. Just remember that. Just remember that. I promise you this. I promise you, promise you, promise you. In life and in business, those good moments, those wow moments, those ah moments are the moments that make all the holy crap seriously worthwhile. I promise you this. Sonia, what's your quote?
Okay, my quote is by Ann Richards, and it's always look forward, never look back. And the reason I love that quote is because the past is done. You can't change it. And you shouldn't live in the past, if it, even wonderful memories. You shouldn't live there. You got to live in the now. And letting go of the past, like you said, is letting go of mistakes, shame, even having to let go of great memories in time. So you're not sad of, oh, I want to relive that. Letting go of the past and just be in the present moment, because then you can create a even brighter future. But really, all we have is this moment, Kim. Right now, you and I
Yeah.
talking, all we have is this moment. Whoever's listening, all you have is this moment. And so I think it's just best to let the past go and let the future sit. Don't worry about it. Let it be an adventure, let it unfold, but just be in the present moment. And I think when we do that, we can offer ourselves a lot more grace and love, and accept where we're at in our life. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Sonia. So, folks, things that I've learned today is that it's a numbers game. If you truly want something, you need to get through those no's so you can get the yes. This
Yes.
is in life, this is in business. So, all
Mhm.
you do is next, next,
Mhm.
next. If you truly believe in yourself and you know that you're on the right path, you know that somebody else will see it too. You just got to get to that yes. The second thing that uh, I've thought about today is the word mistake. I want everybody today, when you think it's a mistake, I want you to put feedback in there.
Oh,
Edison will tell you
I'm going to write
that
that down.
his Edison will tell you that the light bulb everyone that blew up, everyone that never worked, everyone that never turned on, everything he went through to get us into the light was a feedback opportunity. It is not a mistake that you missed a number. It is not a mistake that you missed a stitch or a seam or a store or a client, because it's going to give you the opportunity for greatness tomorrow. So just remember, that is your feedback. So, all right, folks, I am done. This is was
Mhm.
Sonia. I really, really do appreciate your time, because
Mhm.
this was gave me the opportunity to do a deeper dive on some very personal sides for me, and I
Mhm.
really appreciate that, because you're speaking my language, lady. You're speaking
You're
my
speaking
language.
my language, Kim. Thank you for having this platform and doing all that you're doing. It's amazing. It's just amazing. So, bravo to you. You are resilient and you're also a great example of leading the way for women. I love it.
Absolutely. We're all in it together, ladies. We're all in it together. So, again, Kim Hayden, this is Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration with women leaders, speakers, entrepreneurs, authors, coaches, you name it. We just want to make the world move a little bit better, a little bit faster, and economically support the women that are doing great things out there. If you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging just a wee bit and you need something, do listen and lean in to our resilient community. You can also get our monthly magazine and any of the kind of the conference videos we do, any of the women we interview on our stages at resilientgift.com. Resilientgift.com is a membership page, but it is free and it will always be free. I will never ask you for a credit card. You will never get a sneaky renewal, nothing. Lean in, grab that. And on those days that are a little bit hard, know that we're here. We love you. We see you. We value you. We know you can do this too. So until next time, again, I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and this is Kim Talks Resilience.
Bye.